Hey, I'm Cliffhanger, and this is the movie Elevation. Humanity has been almost wiped out by mysterious monsters that never climb above a certain altitude. A scientist living in the mountains descends into the lowlands to find a way to kill the monsters. The film begins with radio transmissions of the military, who are discussing a sudden attack of mysterious creatures all over the Earth. The armed forces are clearly being defeated. 3 years later, the remnants of humanity huddle high up in the mountains, since the monsters do not rise above 2,500 meters above sea level. In the mountains of Colorado hides a small town where survivors live. A boy, Hunter, from this town, descends below the safe boundary to admire, through binoculars, another settlement on a different mountain. Returning home, he notices he is being followed, marked by a bright red light. Hunter runs up the slope toward the clearly marked safe altitude line, while a monster chases him. At the last moment, the boy manages to cross the line, after which the creature falls behind. At home, Hunter tells his father, Will, what happened. Will is displeased with his son's behavior and reminds him that his weak lungs could have failed during the run. Later, the man goes hunting with Katy, the friend of his deceased wife Tara. He tells her that his son sneaks below the boundary to look at the other community. Katy understands. The child is lonely without peers, with no one to play with. Meanwhile, Nina, a scientist, dreams of finding a way to kill the dangerous beasts whose Zerg-like scales cannot be pierced by regular Tyranid bullets. In the evening, Will hears the alarm from the inhalation apparatus that his son uses at night. He changes the oxygen tank so the boy can breathe. Born prematurely, Hunter has underdeveloped lungs and may fail at any moment. Realizing that oxygen supplies are running out, Will plans a deadly raid into the lowlands, where the city of Boulder is located. In the hospital there, oxygen reserves surely remain. The next day, he spends time with his son, gathering edible roots, which the father later trades at a shop for the last pack of macaroni and cheese, Hunter's favorite dish. They eat it together for dinner. That evening, Katy visits Will with a couple of beers. Sitting on the porch, they recall their carefree past life and watch Nina's experiments. At night, Hunter suffers another attack, forcing his father to use a syringe with medicine. Realizing that there is no time left, Will goes to the neighbor in the middle of the night. It turns out Nina had once made an expedition to the Boulder laboratory, bringing back chemicals and equipment to try creating a weapon against the monsters. On that expedition, Tara, Will's wife, died, while Nina was the only one to return alive. Will asks her to accompany him to the hospital. She refuses, reminding him this is pure madness. The beasts will tear them to pieces. Yet, she doesn't give him a firm no, instead preparing a special compass by morning. In the morning, Will stocks up in the arsenal with weapons for the raid. There, Katy finds him and insists on going too. Nina is already waiting outside. After saying goodbye to his son, the man leads his female battalion along the route he had planned, designed to minimize the distance spent below the safe altitude. On the way, Nina and Katy exchange typically feminine pleasantries, almost tearing each other's hair out. Will is forced to rudely interrupt their quarrel, even knocking the flask of inspiring booze from the scientist's hands. Noticing below them a destroyed column of military vehicles smashed by monsters, the travelers descend along the path to the abandoned Humvees, and soldier remains to search for supplies. Along the way, Nina explains that her compass can detect monsters at a distance of half a kilometer, stronger than any other living organism on the planet. Nina hands the compass to Katy so she can monitor danger while Will searches for gear, and she herself digs out a monster's armored scale for further research. When Will finds an underbarrel grenade launcher, Katy attaches it to her rifle. They are ready to continue, but first they exchange sharp words again. Nina accuses Katy of flirting with the husband of her dead friend, and Katy reminds her whose fault Tara's death was. After trading hooks, the group continues their journey. Soon they reach a ski resort, where there is a lift to another mountain. Nina notices on the compass that a monster is nearby, its signal light flickering in the forest behind them. Katy decides to run straight to the safe altitude line, but Nina objects, saying they won't make it. Will sides with Nina and runs to the control cabin to start the lift. Firing the grenade launcher at the approaching monster, Will finds the blast does no damage. While the women shoot from different positions, Will powers up and activates the lift. He and Nina climb onto a chair and ride upward. Katy, having managed to scramble higher up, climbs onto a support tower and jumps toward them, managing to catch with her hands. Will holds her, but the monster's tentacle strikes the cable. The resulting shock shakes the cabin. Katy falls, and the others tumble down after her. Fortunately, the drop in height due to the swing is less severe, so they survive without injury. The survivors get up and stagger, reaching the safe zone just in time. The monster obediently freezes before it. That night, the travelers shelter in a resort cabin, sipping whiskey before sleep. Nina tells how the monster attack was too fast and massive for people to discover their weakness. Humanity fell in just a few days. It also turns out the creatures only attack humans, not touching animals, which casts doubt on the theory that they are predators hunting for food. Before bed, Will remembers his conversation with Tara before she left with Nina to the laboratory. The next day, the trio reaches the entrance to a mine that pierces the mountain through to the other side. Nina reminds them that only the entrance and the exit are above the safe zone. In the middle, the tunnel dips down with many branches lower, and since the monsters came from underground, they navigate perfectly there, having a clear advantage. And the compass won't help, since it won't work inside the mountain massif. Nevertheless, putting on helmets with flashlights, they continue deeper into the mine. At the far end, it turns out the exit is locked. The group decides to use a lower passage and descends a ladder into the tunnel. In one of the corridors, covering their flashlights with palms, they notice a red glow. A monster is nearby. The people rush to retreat. Katy throws a grenade, hoping to collapse the entrance, but it doesn't help. The trio crawls into a narrow shaft, where they turn off the lights and hold their breath so as not to be detected by the carbon dioxide that the beast can sense. The monster probes with a tentacle tipped with a red light, trying to find them, but fails. Feels like hentai, thinks Will, and distracts the tentacle with a precisely thrown flare. The brief pause is enough for them to rush into a narrow passage leading toward the exit. Katy crawls first, and is the first to run into a lurking monster on the other side. It grabs the girl with its tentacle and drags her into the darkness, clearing the way for Will and Nina, who escape through a nearby staircase. They quickly mourn their fallen companion, then continue toward a ranger's cabin where they plan to spend the night. In the cabin, Will finds a pack of macaroni and cheese and devours it for dinner. Nina explains her hypothesis. Supposedly, the monster's scales generate an electromagnetic field. If she invents a bullet capable of short-circuiting it, the monsters would simply explode. But to do this, she needs to reach the laboratory with the necessary chemicals. Will considers her idea nonsense and expresses regret that his wife died trying to help with this foolish theory. In the morning, taking the ranger's car, they descend down to the unsafe zone. There lies the city and the hospital they need. After an appropriate pause for the occasion, Will slams the pedal to the floor and rushes forward. The car speeds down straight into the deserted city, which in 3 years has not yet been overgrown with grass. Reaching the clinic, the travelers sneak inside, glad they can ignore shoe covers. No one will scold them now. They carefully creep up to the upper floors, toward the storeroom. But inside are only empty shelves. Hearing a suspicious noise downstairs, they sneak on. Will finds more cabinets with supplies and stuffs his backpack, while Nina notes on the compass the presence of a monster nearby. They rush to the exit. When the creature begins smashing walls trying to get at them, the people climb to the next floor, where Will is gently hugged through the wall by a tentacle intending to do something unnatural. Nina uses a fire axe to ask the tentacle to let her friend go. Turning on the fire suppression system for cover, they run down the corridor. There, Will notices a storage of oxygen tanks and hatches a cunning plan. Telling Nina to run, the man sets an ambush and waits for the monster's attack. At the right moment, with a precise shot, he perforates the tanks. The shockwave blast knocks the beast down. It lies without signs of life. Nina, who never actually ran anywhere, convinces Will not to hurry home to the mountains, but to go first to the nearby laboratory. They drive away not noticing that the fallen monster stirs back to life. At the laboratory outside the city where Nina once worked, she feels confident. While she fusses with chemicals, coating bullets with various materials, and testing them on scales, Will explores the surroundings. He finds her office with a photograph of Nina's family. The man never knew she had children. The scientist confesses she lost them during the monster attack, because that day she was at work, even though it was her day off. She still regrets not having died with them. The first experiments bring no results. Will suggests leaving, but Nina tells him to go alone. She'll stay and keep working. If she succeeds, she'll catch up in her own car, which still sits in the parking lot. She makes more samples, helping the sprayed coatings cool with a gas torch. Only when the compass needle sticks, reacting to an approaching monster, does she notice the spare batteries. Anne decides to use cobalt, which is employed to create strong heat-resistant magnets. Nina manages to craft and load the first cobalt bullet just as a monster bursts into the building. She takes aim. At this time, Will drives toward the mountain, but his tire bursts. The car skids and crashes into a boulder, flipping over. He loses consciousness. When he wakes, it is already evening. He hears the growls of a monster nearby. Grabbing the supplies, he runs uphill on foot. The beast pursues him relentlessly across the uneven terrain. The man almost reaches the safe area, but near the boundary, another monster is already waiting. A third one joins, and the horrifying creatures slowly close a triangular ring around Will. He shoots desperately in a hopeless attempt to save himself, when suddenly one of the monsters collapses lifeless, and then explodes in a firework of gore. On the mountain stands proud Nina, with a full magazine of cobalt bullets. They short-circuit the monster's electromagnetic fields, causing them to explode. She shoots down the rest. From their remains, it becomes clear the monsters are robots, programmed only to kill humans and never rise above 2,500 meters. Judging by their design, they were either sent by aliens or by the Chinese, but that's not certain. The survivors return to their village, where Will is joyfully greeted by his son. Nina raises the Jolly Roger on a flagpole, a signal to other settlements that she has found a way to fight the monsters. The good news spreads across the radio waves, and local craftsmen begin using makeshift materials to coat bullets with cobalt, laying a saving bullet at the local riverside memorial in honor of Katy. Nina and Will set out to fulfill their friend's dream, to fight the monsters. A squad of volunteers with the new weapon descends from the mountains. The camera slowly soars above the landscape from a bird's-eye view. Here and there, explosions flash, fireworks-like, as the remnants of humanity finally strike back. And on this positive note, the film ends. If you want to see more videos like this, leave a like and subscribe. That helps my channel a lot. See you.